In this video, you'll hear from Glander Pressley, a Gullah historian and interpreter of Hopsewee Plantation in Georgetown, South Carolina. She shares powerful stories about the lives of enslaved Africans brought to the Americas and the rich traditions of the Gullah people, including their language, customs, and home remedies. Glander speaks in the Gullah dialect while also weaving in music to bring the culture to life.
All of the descendants, they still live in the same area. They created a documentary in recent years that's called The Descendants. This past Juneteenth, 2024, they released another documentary called Catilda Return. That is where some of the descendants that made that journey back to Africa. It aired on Disney Plus and Paramount. Zonia Huston, she was one of the only journalists that ever interviewed Cujo. She interviewed him and she documented all of the details of what it was like for him to be aboard the last human cargo ship that came to America. She wrote a book. She completed the summer of 1927 in hopes of having it published by 1932. However, you see, in some parts of the book, she wanted to honor Cujo. She wrote in the exact dialect he spoke, which was Gullah. Because of that, they would not publish the book at that time. That book was not published until 2019. And that book is called Barracoon. So you see, Barracoon has all of the details of what it was like to be aboard the last human cargo ship that came to America. Barracoon. In order to give you a clear understanding of the journey of the Gullah people, I'll take you to the west coast of Africa. You see, when I made the journey to the west coast of Africa, they went in search of people that had knowledge and skills of how to plant and cultivate rice, cotton, indigo, and other agriculture crops. They went to areas of soil in yarn, Senegal, Ghana, and Gambia. They went with the intention of capturing and bringing back anywhere from 400 to 1,000 enslaved in one journey. That took time. They had holding cells built along the west coast of Africa, one of the main ones being Bunch Island. They would go in and capture people and bring them and put them at Bunch Island. You see, however, each time they went to a different village, they got a different tribe that spoke a different language. So the ones at the holding cells weren't able to communicate. These people realized and understand that they're going to survive, they must learn how to communicate. You had the Mandinka, the Wolof, the Remedies, the Fufu, the Bantu, and several other different tribes. What they did was they took bits and pieces of all of that different tribal language. They combined them together to create one common language they all can use. They named them Gullah. It is named after Angola. The Gullah language is a combination of over 20 different tribal languages combined. It has Spanish, it has French, and it has English. So now you see, the ones that were over at the holding cells, when they got prepared to load aboard the slave vessels, they would take and move them over to Goree Island. You see, Goree Island is the place that is considered to be the door of no return. Once they go through that door, they would never see home again. They did processing at Goree Island. They wanted to strip away anything and everything that would remind them of their homeland. Because you had 7 different tribes, they identified by the way they did their hair. Some had braids, plaits, cornrow. Some had locks, some had Bantu knots, some had twists, just like me. They would shave their heads. Just imagine having your family together only to be separated. They would send the mom one direction, the pa one direction, and the shilling a different direction. When they were loaded on the vessels, they were loaded with only one thing, and that was shackles. They had their wrist shackle and their ankles were shackled. You had some vessels, you know, that they had little slabs built in them. And what they would do is they would take and lay and stock them in there, head to foot, like you stock sardines in a can. Other vessels, they place them on the floor, wherever they'll find a vacant spot. You see, however, the journey across the Atlantic Ocean can take anywhere from 5 to 12 weeks. During that journey, these people were being transported in every human waste possible you can think about. Along the journey, they would take them up on deck to let them walk around to get exercise. Some was in so much despair that when they got up there, They prefer to jump overboard to their death along the ocean to wash them back to their homeland free than make the journey across and live a life as an enslaved. I can imagine they were singing, "Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom, all over me." And before I be enslaved, I'll be buried in my grave. I go home to my Lord and be free. Don't you know? You see, there were times they had women on board that were going to child labor. Those babies were delivered, taken on deck, and thrown overboard. Many times someone go to sleep at night, I didn't wake the next morning, they were tossed away as well. You see, the only resistance they had was not to eat. And the ones that choose not to eat, they had a special tool they would use. And they would pry their mouth open and they would force feed them. And if they choose not to swallow, they would put hot rocks in their mouth. The ones that made the journey were taken to various locations. Some were taken to the Caribbean. You see, the ones that resisted the most, they put them all first in the Caribbean. They make the journey up the coast of Florida, they put some there. Then they come and make a stop in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. 40 to 60% of the enslaved that went in, they came through Sullivan's Island. When they got there, they had to go through another process. Now they were checking them for things like malaria, yellow fever, and other various diseases. However, many were sick. They didn't get enough to eat during the journey. Come to find out, the very thing they were feeding them were making them sick. They were feeding them sorghum. If you don't know, that's something they feed the hog and pigs, you know. So when you hear people say the foodways of America is too by Africa, it is because of the Atlantic slave trade. They realized and understand if they wanted to get them healthy and get them on the auction block, they needed to have food that their body could digest and not reject. So when they made the journeys back, they brought back food. They brought back peas and okra. They brought back the mini seed, the cola nut. They brought back the yams. The original yams could not survive, so they offered sweet potato. Let us not forget they brought back watermelon. Y'all see, watermelon always had a stigma against it. But today, I tell you, Lord of my ancestors, they survived because of the watermelon. You could eat watermelon and nothing else and you will survive. Because it has magnesium, potassium, calcium, zinc, it has B6, it has H3O2, it has everything your body needs to survive. Another reason the watermelon is important, during the time of the Underground Railroad, they referred to it as the August Ham. So when they were out there, they would go in search of the August Ham. They would have markers on there to let them know if it was safe to continue on with their journey. So that is the importance of the watermelon. However, once the enslaved were healthy, the desire was to get them on the auction block. In a lot of these parts in the low country, the desire was for Carolina gold rice. So for those that don't know, you see this is Carolina gold rice here. The Carolina gold rice is the thing that made the low country and all of South Carolina wealthy. In the beginning, I told you I'm 5th generation Gullah. My family were rice planters. So the first people in my bloodline, they had to make it through everything I just told you. On one side, it was Dinah and Peter. On the other side, it was Charlotte and Jacob. When they first got here, they were 12 or 13 years old. So when I tell people I be Gullah Geechee, I know who I be. I am because of them. Because that made the journey I'm young today, I can tell the story. Like he said, I'm a been young. I know to come young. I always been young. You see? That is where that come from. And let me tell you, a Benya is somebody that's always been here. They never left. They was always here in the culture and lived the culture. A Kamya is somebody that is a part of the culture, but they left. You hear me say migrate? They left and they went to other places and then they come back. So we say, here Kamya. That's the difference. So you got a Benya and a Kamya. I'm a Benya. Always a Benya. You see? You ever hear people say, Winya? You hear that, Winya? I think that's a Gullah word, you know. They say, we young. That's what it is. We young. When they first got here, we young. I think the first group of people that came into Georgetown, I think it was like 1592 or somewhere around there. And they named him Winya B. He said, we young. That's what he was saying. We young. That's a cool word. You see? So So a lot of things that people don't understand is because of the fact that the way how the Gullah works is totally different from English and some of the other languages. Now when we are speaking rubbers of the rice plantation and things like that, they had several other plantations. Because see, rice could not grow in salt water, and a lot of people didn't understand that. That is why they had to offer other things. You see, some had what they call seal and cotton, and you see some had sugarcane plantation, and you even had some indigo in some areas. However, out of all of those plantations, the rice plantation is the one that is the most labor intense. How many know when you walk on the rice field, you're walking in water from knee to chest high? There are two main floodings. The first one is not bad. It starts the end of March, first part of April. It is over with. The second flood, however, it starts mid-July. It can last 2.5 months, sometimes longer. You see, during that time, the water was stagnated. It's a breeding ground for mosquitoes and malaria. During that time, most plantation owners, if they got a rice plantation, they pack up their family, they leave, and they go stay elsewhere. It was their belief that the enslaved could survive better than the plantation owner. But I always tell people, I'd be the first to admit there were a lot of factors that came into play. You know, a lot of the enslaved had already been exposed to malaria, so they were immune. And you have a large percentage of African American culture, they have sickle cell. They're not prone to get malaria, you know. The most important thing, the ancestors pass along their knowledge. They tell you how to use natural herbs to keep mosquitoes at bay. They tell you about things like sage and rosemary. They tell you about lemongrass and peppermint. They tell you about the beautyberry bush. You know they eat them berries. They're good. They make jams and all sorts of things out of them. But the leaves repel mosquitoes. That's like the elderberry. Eat very medicinal, but the leaves repel mosquitoes. If you don't know anything else and you got mosquitoes, you go to your kitchen and get you an onion. And you peel the outer layer off and you put it in a dish and you put water in the fire. It repels mosquitoes. The onion is powerful. You got an itch, you can rub on your skin. You got a cold, you can put them with raw honey and a pomade, you got a cough medicine. You got a fever, you cut a piece and put it in the ball of your foot, you put a socks on, you pull fever in your body. You see, in the Gullah community, we have what we call bushmans and bushwomen's. Yeah, some people say root doctors, you see. When they go out to the bush, they go out to get things, they get the natural herbs. How many know? You see, in the book, the Bible, Genesis, Jeremiah, and Revelation, they speak about the natural herbs, how God put them here for the natural healing of our body. Did you know that? You see? A person that goes out to the bush, they go out there, they might get things. It might look like a piece of weed or dead grass or flower to you. It might be a pine needle, or it go in the bark of a willow tree. It might be sponge moss. But I can tell you how to use them medicinally. And they go out and collect the roots. They get dandelion root, chicory root, buttocks root, ginger root, turmeric root, sassafras root. Oh, they'll tell you how to use them medicinally. You see, for me, growing up in the Gullah community with asthma, I never went to a doctor, you know. How many know that most pharmaceuticals, they come from a natural herbs? You know that. See my asthma medication right here. This shall tell you the truth, you know. It's powerful. So there's some parts of South Carolina, they say this is illegal because they say it has the same potency as marijuana. I don't know how true it is. But I got a lot at my house. It just grow. You don't have to do anything. A natural herb, you don't have to do anything. They grow. You don't have to fertilize them. You don't do anything. They just grow. Natural herb. This shall be called life everlasting. My grandmother was full-blood Cherokee. She called it rabbit tobacco. She always used to smoke them in a pipe. So I call it rabbit tobacco. So now it has a sister flower that has a yellow pod. That's helichrysum. See, a lot of people probably know about this one because they make a tincture because it's good for the skin. It has some of the same benefits as the life everlasting. So life everlasting is good for asthma, upper respiratory, and bronchitis and things like that. I'm going to tell you what they do. What they used to do is when you get sick, they will take you and they'll give you some tea. They'll give you that tea. First of all, they give you a bath. They give you a steam bath. They wash you good. And then they'll give you a tea and they can wrap you up. I say wrap you up, you know. They'll put you in the bed, and when you wake up the next morning, your body doesn't sweat so much, it's like somebody poured water on you all night. But you feel like a brand new person. You ever hear people say, you sweat out the cold, you sweat out the fever and everything? It pulls everything out of you, and it breaks up the mucus. So now, I know some people see that smoke is bad for asthma. If you have a natural herb that is burning around you, it will not interfere with your asthma or your breathing. However, you just smoke cigarette, it will, because it has nicotine and all those other things in there. That's not a natural herb. If you want another natural herb that you can use, you can smoke mullein, or you can make a tea with mullein. Mullein is good for anybody that has COPD, issues with your lungs, you're trying to cleanse your lungs. You can get mullein. Mullein is very versatile. You can make a tea, you can make a tincture, you can smoke them, and you can make a potas. Mullein was the first toilet tissue I ever know. I know people think he's funny, some people will laugh, but ain't nobody got no hemorrhoids during that time. You see? And yet everybody been running around, they buying toilet tissue during COVID. I ain't even get none. I had mullein out there. You see? So every natural herb, it has a reason. It was there for a reason. And I think it would be good. I talk about the herbs because I feel like people sometimes need to know we have natural herb that heals our body. For everything the doctor give you, there's a natural herb. You see? You want a blood thinner? There's a natural blood thinner right here. You shall sassafras. Sassafras is highly inflammatory, good for aches and pain, and this is a natural blood thinner. Y'all see? See, you might be on Lovenox or Coumadin or something like this here. There's your natural blood thinner here. All you have to do is get you some tea and make your tea, and you need like a little shot glass every morning. You see how easy that is. So as a child, most of the time they let us chew them. They break a little piece and they let us chew them. That's it. Sometimes we be outside, we chew the leaf. It has sarsaparilla in there. It gives them like a root beer flavor, you know. And because of that, people tend to drink a lot, but too much anything ain't good, you know. You drink too much, it can cause diarrhea, or it causes you have to hallucinate. So you don't want to drink too much. So now, I got a couple more of the herbs, but I can let you come up and ask me questions because I know a lot of people are curious. You see? You know, I know a herb, but then people have been getting all that example lately. I can open up me a little story. I got a natural herb for that. Metformin, you see that? Them things like that, you got the natural herb right there for them. You got to think, how did they get that? They get them because they get a natural herb. Moving on, I can talk a little about the Gullah language. Y'all see the Gullah language, people is fascinated by it because they say that, you know, in the beginning, they used to always say, broken English. They used to say Ebonics. I used to hear people say that, I didn't know what you're talking about. They say Ebonics. I'm going to take a words of Ebonics. But I always know people say you talk different, they say you got an accent, they tell you all them things like that. I got a few people that live down there in Marietta, Bloomingville. I live in Morrisville. Bloomingville is like 7 miles away. And they always say, all of y'all talk like that. I don't take my way, me, we talk like that. However, they were speaking about the Gullah because in my community it's still strong. You see? So now I can sing a piece of song. I want you to join in with me. Kumbaya, Malon, Kumbaya, Kumbaya, Malon, Kumbaya, Kumbaya, Malon, Kumbaya, oh Lord, Kumbaya. Oh, you say Kumbaya. That means come by here. That's original Gullah song. You see? That's original Gullah song. When the ancestors first got on the plantation, they were in despair. They were crying out. What were they singing? Somebody needs you, Lord. Kumbaya. Somebody's crying, Lord. Kumbaya. Somebody's praying, Lord. Kumbaya. Oh, Lord. Kumbaya. Yes, Kumbaya. It means come by here. You see, the Gullah is a language you learn from your mother's tongue. I still speak them. I want to pass them on to my children, and when my children, I pass them on to my grandchildren. So you see, when the grandchildren come over and Big Mama say, huh, the show? Them young? Oh, show young. Show young, show over your balls.
Look over there on the dresser and bring my earring.
On the child, on the yada?
Child, do you hear me?
On the yada.
Yes, I heard you.
So the thing is, my tongue get relaxed. You see, for me, I did not start learning English until the early part of the 70s. And that is when they start integrating the schools. So when they start integrating the schools, I was introduced to you, me and I was used to saying one on a young. I was introduced to he, she, it. I was used to saying E, because if I want to say he, I say E. I want to say she, I say E. I want to say it, I say E. Sometimes, if I want to be specific, I would say her or gal, because those were the words that were in my vocabulary. Whenever my teacher heard that, I was told it is she and girl. Because see, in the Gullah, we say woman, we don't say woman. So that is the difference. Those were things that I had to learn as I integrate in the schools in the 70s. It was not easy because as a child, you don't understand that you're learning a new language. I don't think that my teacher understood. She was teaching me a new language. So I got a speech therapist. Now, there are still some English words I can't pronounce. I can't pronounce them, you know. So they would give me these different things. They would learn me throughout the week. I learn a few words. I get a start on Friday. I go home on the weekend. I come back Monday. Every Monday they have to start all over again. But these people, they didn't understand. No one in my community was speaking English. They were speaking Gullah. You had a lot of people that were in there, let's see, 50s to 105. These people don't want to learn our new language. So they still speak the Gullah. So my generation was one of the last generation that had contact with the original Gullah speakers in my community. And so that is why a lot of times people, they hear me talk, they say, oh, you talk like my grandma, you talk like, you know, because he's still in me. And you know, whenever I couldn't speak some word, sometimes I say, my teacher, she'll beat me on my hand with a spoon. But the thing about it is, that still didn't change him. Because he in me, he ain't coming out. He in there. So now the thing about the Gullah language, there are different between the English and the Gullah. Standard English have a lot of rules. They got sentence structure, they got a lot of past or future tense words. They got all of these things that are so different. They got words that start with TH. A lot of times when a word starts with TH, like we don't hear that TH. We drop that and put a D. So we do the same thing for this, them, and that. You see, the only time you hear me say words with a T, you might hear myself Thursday. And even when I say Thursday, I drop the H. And I drop a few other things, I say Thursday. You see? And you might hear me say ting. You might hear me say tink on her. You might hear me say tro. You see? Then there are a lot of words that have auras in the standard English. We don't hear no auras. You hear me say soccer, you hear me say shot, you hear me say match. That was not different. Words that have V, a lot of times we don't hear V. You say no. I hear B. You see the difference? So the thing is that even with my ancestors, when my ancestors first got on the plantation, they were speaking Gullah. They didn't know any English. And it was against the law for them to speak the Gullah. They were forbidden to speak it. So even when on the plantation, they had to learn a new way how to communicate. So what they did was they learned bits and pieces of English. They put together codes and everything. And their new way of communicating was through songs. So when you see all of those old hymns in the book and they only got a few words in them, you ever thought about that? Why you only got a little bit of words? All of the words they got in the vocabulary, they only got a few words in these songs. That's because they was just not in English. They wanted to know enough to put together the code and they would sing. That was their new way of communicating. Swing low, sweet chariot,
Coming forth to carry me home.
swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. When they sing that, they were letting them all know that the Underground Railroad was coming through. Sometimes they sing, wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the waters. When they sing that, they wanted them to be alert. Because when they got up there, they had to get in the water so that the dog didn't pick up their scent. So now you see, now when I get ready to escape, if they ever got caught, they would get punished. And one of the things they had was what they call a cat o' nine tails. So you see, this is a cat o' nine tails here. And the reason being is because it has these 9 scraps, and these little end pieces, they were taken and put glass and nails. And whenever they would whip out, the back would look like a cat scratching up. You see the picture behind me of Whip Pete? He was whipped with a cat o' nine tails. So that is why, whenever they were getting ready to escape, a lot were freed. So now before they got out there, one of the main things they wanted to do was have a big meal. So they would nyam good. So nyam was a Gullah word, it means eat. They would have a big meal. Because the plantation owner always gave them lots of cornmeal, they use it to their advantage. They would take and mix up a big pan of cornbread, they nyam them good. They mix up a second batch. They take them and roll them into little corn balls. They will fry them up, and they will put those in their backpack so when they get out, they have a snack. Now that they're out there, they would hurry to them. She would give them instruction. And she would tell them, honey, she would let me tell you something, young now. Your young call your name, don't you look back. You keep going, because the road to freedom is straight ahead. She would tell them, oh, Sheila, you see the lantern? Don't you look back, you keep going. You keep moving, because the road to freedom is straight ahead. Don't you look back? You hear the dogs back there yapping? Don't you look back, you keep moving. The road to freedom is straight ahead. Sheila, you keep moving. The whole while she kept encouraging them, because so many were afraid. They were scared. They wanted to turn back. She'll keep telling them, oh, Sheila, you stay focused on everything in front of you. Even though your journey is long, the road of freedom is straight ahead. Don't look back, you keep moving. No matter how she encouraged them. Some are so afraid, before you know it, they turn and they look back. And when they turn and they look back, yeah, the dogs were right there. In a panic, not knowing what to do, they reach in their backpack, grab a handful of those little corn balls, and take them and throw them to that dog and say, hush, puppy. Now that is how you get your hush puppy. Thank you for having me here today. I hope you learned something about Gullah you didn't know and you tell someone else. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. How about some questions out there?
Ain't nobody got no question?
Yeah. Give them a minute. Yeah.
You mentioned the melon. Is that how do you spell that?
Oh, so she'll say mullen. So mullen, M-U-L-L-I-E-N? E-I-N. See, English got too much things. In the Gullah. Let me tell you something. In the Gullah, you can spell however you want to spell them, and the next person, they can read it. Because you know you can spell a word that be all mixed up, you still can read them. You can give me any type of thing, you all mixed up, I can read them. Because I read the Gullah, you see? So mullen, that is, she just spelled them, M-U-L-L-I-E-N. So the thing about E-I-N. So anyway, you see, mullen. So mullen is a plant that grows biannually. So that means it comes every 2 years. If he come this year, he's not gonna come back next year. He'll come the year after that. So the thing about mullen, the people that don't know what it looks like, you probably don't see him. It looks like a big tobacco plant. He's fuzzy, he got big leaves, and a big yellow flower grow high up in the top. It grows on the side of the roadway, it grows by pastures, it grows all over the place. And like I say, it's versatile. You can make a porters, you can make a tea, you can smoke them, and then what the other thing you do? Smoke them, porters, tea, and tincture. You got them right, tincture. That's the thing they used to do for the children when they have their earache. They take someone and put them in there, they grow and they get the oil out of them, and they'll drop them in the ear. That tincture. Take your mom. Yes, mom.
Is there another name for the life everlasting tea?
Some people call it rubber tobacco. And the scientific name is Gila chrysanthemum. He not christen them. That's for the ones that want to go find an obelisk and get them online. That's why I got the sham from this obelisk. They have some of the same medicinal benefits, but see the obelisk, she only got the flower part in there. So baby, open the champagne here. And let them look and see how they look right here. This one here have what they call silent white. This one looks like a baby breath when it's out on the side of the highway. So see, when I'm riding along, I see them all on the side of the highway, just kind of hold them up over the people there. So I keep them covered because all of these little end parts here are seeds. But you can steep and boil the whole thing. So now if you want to roll your blunt, you just pull some of the little leaves off there, and you take them and roll them. You see? So all of these here are good. All of these things pot like that is good. Yes. And they smell good because I can smell as soon as you open them up.
That helps.
Yes. You open up and you can smell them. Because sometimes I'm riding and I have it in my car and I say, oh, why my car kind of almost smell like, no, where you smell? And I say, I have to keep them in my trunk because see, I know them. The police, they stop you and the first thing they tell you, they smell marijuana. And see, I probably be saying, I don't smoke no marijuana. I be don't forget about this thing here. You see, but you know, yeah. Any other question?
In your Kiribati community, how many people speak the language of this?
So I think that everybody in my community speak a variation of Gullah because there are so many different words that are in the Gullah that words that came from the tribes. And they still use them. They don't realize they use them. Sometimes I have to bring it to their attention. You see, they still use them because it's so very easy. There are some words that don't have no replacement, you see? And so they still use them. So I think everybody in my community, they speak a variation of Gullah. They might not speak them. They try to speak standard English. I can tell you, they try hard to speak standard English because, because of going to the schools that are integrated. In order to be able to pass, you have to, learn certain things. But a lot of them still speak it. Yes, ma'am.
You may have explained it, but I didn't understand. For a long time, I thought Gullah was one thing and you spoke Geechee.
So the thing about it, in parts of South Carolina and North Carolina, they say Gullah. Georgia and Florida will say Geechee. The people down in the Caribbean, they will say Patois. The people in New Orleans, they say a Creole language. So we all the same. So I go down to Jamaica, I can talk to people there, and we have some of the same similar way we speak. It's just the location. The different location, they use different title, but it all coming up from the same area. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Carolina. I grew up in a little small community called Morrisville. So the thing is, growing up, they always would say, you can't get a good job if you can't speak standard English. So I can remember in the mid-70s when I started getting into high school. So I graduated at 16. And whenever I got in high school, they would say, you're not going to be able to get a good job because the way you talk. They used to tease me, I had it real bad. And I think the reason it was so deep for me, I get to spend a lot of times with my grandmother and my great-grandmother. So see, with my great-grandmother, she was born in 1890-something. So she was still living when I was growing up. And so I'm speaking and talking to her all the time. She in her 100, And so I think that's why it was so deep with me. But a lot of times they say, you can't get a good job. So by the time I got like high school, 9th grade, I took some college prep course, even though nobody in the community even talk about nothing but no college. They just been saying, trying to get you to graduate high school. But I took college prep course and I had what they call, I think they used to call it office procedure or something during that time. And so I took that class, and my teacher, she always used to tell me, what job you going on talking like that? And so then I realized I started practicing trying to do standard English. So when people would call, and we didn't get a phone until close 79, 80, I don't know. When people would call, I would answer the phone. I would say, hello, you have reached the Pressley residence. And so whenever my close family would called and I would say that, and they say, oh, you're crazy, why you talk like that? And so it was because of the fact that I was trying to get practice, because after I started taking the office procedure class, I had like working with numbers, I had like working and doing that type of work, and doing the shorthand and all of that thing. And I said, I gotta get a job working in the office. And so, I can remember my older brother, he had moved to New Jersey, and he would call. I said, hello, you have reached the Pressley's resident. I would always be answering the phone like a business person, so that was my way of practicing how to try to speak standard English better to be able to get a good job and stuff. And so then we're trying to actually go out and get a job. I went to a 2-year college. I got a degree, associate in business data processing. And so I was working at Tupperware. I started in the molding. So one night I told the plant manager, because see, during that time, if you go to work every day on time and don't miss and don't be late, they give you a bonus. They used to go by the quarters. Yeah, $50. If you do them the whole year, you got $500, So I told my mom, I said, I could do them the whole year, I could get $500. So my sister was riding with me to work. I leave her a lot of times. I just leave her. I said, she's not going to mess up my $500. So anyway, I got the $500, so we had a big dinner. So we had a big dinner, and I was there. So I told the plant manager, I said, look at here. I said, I ain't went to school, get no degree to be sitting at job working in no molding plant. I said, I got a degree, I want to use my degree. And he looked at me, he said, well, they put jobs on the board. Sometimes, you're going to go and keep checking. So I went and I checked and I put in for the job. And then after I got the job, as a computer operator in the MIS department, I said, Lord, I didn't want to be talking to people because, you see, I tried to speak standard English, but he had. Because, see, even though you're trying to speak it, those words that are rooted in you, they come out automatic. They come out automatic. I don't tell you, I can be sitting there trying to speak standard English to somebody, and then here comes something that's come and say, yeah, bring me up. You see, it just started, it hard. Because it done already rooted in me. So however, I got the job. And I was working in the MIS department. And a part of my job was answering the phone for all of the other plants that Tupperware had whenever they had a problem with computers. I knew computers. I did the RPG, I did Cobalt 1 and 2, I did Fortran, I did all because I wanted to be a programmer. Because a programmer, you program, you're working by yourself, you're not talking to anybody. And so that's why I thought I'd get a job and I can program, I don't have to talk to anybody. But then I got to answer the phone all day long. And after a while, you get relaxed. And one thing I realized, those people didn't care how I sung. They wanted their computers working. You see? And so then it was okay. They want their computer working, because by the time I'm trying to figure out how to say the right English word and put it in the right context, I'm wasting time. The phone ringing over here, I got to answer that phone. So then I realized, you know what? Whenever I listen, I'm a good listener. I hear what they're saying, and a lot of times I hear things, or if I read things, I can go back and tell you everything just like that. I can memorize them like that. And I probably was trained like that, because whenever the ancestors was training about the herbs and telling you about the herbs and things, they will always tell you, you keep everything, you don't write anything down. And I think a part of the reason for them, they were doing that because it was against the law for them to read or write. And they probably figured they were protecting us. And so they tell us, you keep them here, you don't write them down. You see? But I realized that they ain't care how I sound. They want the computer to work. You see? And so that's why when I listen, I hear what you say, I know what your computer doing, I troubleshoot it, I get you back online. That's all they want. Now, any other question?
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
I just listened when y'all came from an Indian term. And if it's not, are there other
So
Indian language influences?
So you know that they have, a lot of people would ask me sometimes, they refer to them as indigenous. How did the indigenous people got along with the Gullah people or the enslaved? They got along well. My granddaddy, he married a Cherokee. So you see, there are some of the words that are similar, And the Winya, so yes, it's like the Indians or some of the tribal was landed here first in these parts of Georgetown. I don't know the exact date, I know it's 1590 something I think it is. But they have a lot more in common than most people know, you see? And I guess for me, I got some from my grandparents, and then on one side I got the Gullah. So both of those different tribes or whatever, they do a lot with medicinal medicine. The Cherokees, they use a lot of spices and different things for healing. The Gullah side, they go out and collect a lot of the natural herbs and things like that. So far as the Cherokee side, I don't have a lot of the language or whatever from that side, but I have the other things from that side, like the treatment with the spices and all those things like that. Probably got a lot of the other ways too. Any other question? Yes, ma'am.
What is the Gullah population? And I think you said previously that it's from Wilmington down to Florida.
So yes, it comes from Jacksonville, Florida, all up to Wilmington, North Carolina. The thing is that it's hard to really determine the Gullah population because of the fact you have so many people that migrate. They move all over the place. And you have a lot of people that left for reason that they were trying to find what they consider to be a better life at that time. You have some that their parents actually forbid them to speak the Gullah, to have any relation with the culture. And that was because of the fact that, just like I told you, a certain kind of way you sound or talk, they feel like you can't get a good job. And that was one of the reasons a lot of them forbid their children to speak it. I have a lot of people that I come in touch with. They want to learn more about the language. They want to get back to their language because they felt that it was taken away from them. You see, I had a girl I meet last week, and she was telling me her mother would never talk about it. They had a conversation one day, and she said her mom started speaking in Gullah because she got mad. You know, she got mad. So see, that's why I say your tongue get relaxed. And so she got mad, and her mom started speaking, and she was like, "What is that?" And then her mom came back and explained, "That's Gullah. You know, that's part of your language." So now she want to know about it. She's curious. She don't know anything about it. She lived up north all her life, and she feel like she's lost now. She feel like she's missing something. She want to get that back. And so I told her, you have to find somebody to hang around. Because the thing about it is, you be with a person that speaks Gullah, you be with them for a while, you'll pick up a lot of things real quick. Because I notice a lot of times, when I go to work, people tend to try to speak to me in Gullah because they think I can't understand English. You know, sometimes I'm looking at them and they're trying to say something. I say, "What do you see?" And they try to speak or sound like me because I think they feel like that's how I understand. And so I don't say anything. That's the way they're gonna pick them up. You know, they're picking them up. You're welcome. So any other question about herbs, anything, or that's
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you go to school in like Andrews or Kingstree, and in what grade did they ever integrate when you were in school, or what year are you in school?
So the thing is that I first started school going to Hemingway, what they call Shaver School. I kind of started going to school a little bit before everybody else. I think I started around 3 or 4, and that because you see, my parents would be working at what they call the pack house. You know, you're taking the dry tobacco off, and because I had asthma, my mom had to find a place to put me because I couldn't be there because they would keep flaring up because of the dry tobacco. So she had put me in a summer program, so I started going to school like that in Hemingway and Shivas. So the next year, I started going to regular school to St. Mark over there in the Kingstree area, some rural area, St. Mark High School. So at that time, it was St. Mark Elementary and High School. So when I first started going there, they were shifting people and moving people around because they were trying to integrate the schools. So during this time, I think it was like maybe 70, 71, something like that. And so they had a few whites that were there, So by the time I got like third or fourth grade, like a couple of years in, there was only one white there because the families, they moved, they left, and they moved to other areas because they didn't want their children to integrate. So actually the school was never integrated. For like a couple of years, they were trying to integrate it. They had a few coming there. So over a period of time, a couple of years or so, there was only one there. And that one boy was in my class. And the reason he was in my still coming was the fact that his parents had a bad accident. Both of his parents got killed. And him and his brother was close to one of the black teacher that lived right about a few miles from me, Miss Pressley. And she took him in because they were trying to find somebody to get both the boys and not separate them. And so at the time, she was the one that was willing to take him in. So she had took him in and she was raising them. And that's how he still continued to be there. Yes. But the school was never really integrated. And if you ask me, no, the schools in my areas are still not integrated. Because every time they do, then you have families that move and leave.
And with the 5 generations, do you do like family history? Have you been able to go?
So yes, I do family history. So actually, I have gone back in the past couple of months, 2 more generations. I just don't say 7th because I'm still researching. It's legit because I did DNA. And let me see. Can you find this thing? You'll see if you come up with me. So Elvira, I can't remember whether it was 1779 or 17 something. So that would take me 7th generation, and I'm still researching her.
And they were all in this area, or?
They were all in the same area. So one thing about a lot of the enslaved was 1799. Elvira Sam. She came in 1799. She died in 1878. And so that one was traced back. So that put me at 7th. And I just started filling her in like a couple of months ago. And they actually have a family reunion coming up in July. And I always thought about the family reunion, but I think it was one link that was missing that I didn't catch. And that was actually my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother, that's my great-grandmother's grandmother. So as I started kind of like continue, you know how they give you like a hit, clicking on the hits, and remembering names that my mom told me. And then as I fill it in, it just spread all the way back. So whenever she first came over, the area that she was in, it was like 4 plantation. And those are the areas the family is still in. They're still in the same area. So it's like within 4 plantation, Oak Hall Plantation, Mango Plantation, Old Morrisville Plantation, and Snow Hill. All of those are still in the same area. So we're still there.
Those are in Williamsburg or Georgetown?
So that's Williamsburg County.
Yeah.
The area that I live in right now, my great-granddaughter was what they call a driver or overseer, you see, on that plantation. So that's Old Morrisville Plantation. They used to do kerosene. They used to do kerosene back then. You know, they get the pine trees and the plantain, they used to do kerosene. Yeah.
And like the one that was born in 1897, did they do farming? Like you said your grandma was 1897?
Yes, they did farmers. Yeah. They did farming back over there during that time.
And you had a lot of family that moved up north, like you said, New Jersey and that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you an example. My grandmother died in 2006. She was 98 when she died. She had 16 children. My dad was the 3rd oldest. So all of her 16 children, my dad, which was the 3rd oldest, and her youngest boy were the only 2 that stayed. All of the others, they left. Yeah. So all of them are up in areas of New York, what they call Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn, in those areas up there like that. A lot of them are moving back now. Because like Sankofa say, if you feel like you're missing, you can't find yourself, it's okay to go back and find yourself. So a lot of them are moving and coming back now. And one of the reasons they move because Now, even though some of my cousins are coming back, their mom is still living. I think she's 86. My cousin has a house down there in Mother Beach, and he's trying to get his mom to move. She don't want to come back. She said because of the fact that the trauma that she went through during that time, every time she come back, she feel it, and she don't want to come back. You know, she'll come and visit for a few days, and then she'll go back. So I have a lot of family, a lot of the older ones that are still in New York. That is what they say. It was the trauma because of the Jim Crow laws and things during that time, you know. Yes.
Anybody you said people were hit with a spoon for speaking Gullah? Was that your school?
I know that about me. I ain't know about nobody else. I know he used to do me like that. He used to try to beat my house. I went home a few times and I tell my mom, I said, that teacher hit me, you know. And so my mom keeps saying, she hit you. You know, but back during that time, they had corporal punishment. They can punish you in school. And so, you know, she was asking me why. And I said, because I can't say the words. I can't say the words. And so for a couple of days, my mom would ask me, say, yeah, she hit me again. But I realized my mom was getting upset. So the next time my mom, she asked me if he hit me anymore. I said, no, he ain't hit me no more. I wanted to balance things out, even at that age. I'm still a mediator, you know. So I think because of that, I try harder to be speaking, and I guess that caused me to be bilingual. You know, I think I tried more to be able to speak and say the words that she want me to say. But I still have a hard time even today with past and future tense words. You see? I have a hard time. I didn't understand when I was in school. I used to be very upset because I used to try so hard. And my teacher, she would, you know, they have a red pen. They have a red pen. And my paper is red. Everybody can know my paper not good because she got all these red things. It was always the past and future tense, and then it would always be run-on sentences and punctuation. So if you see, when you speak Gullah, you speak fast. You speak fast. You just keep going, you speak fast. And so I always had run-on sentences. I still can't do punctuation. That's, you know, punctuation and things like that. So that was always my thing. Yes, Mom?
I saw a documentary about a lot of people from Georgetown came from Sierra Leone into the area.
So yes, they have what they call, some type of homegoing for people from Sierra Leone. I have a friend from Sierra Leone that heads up that program. His name is Amadou Masali. And he comes every year, 2 or 3 times, he visits the areas. And a lot of from Sierra Leone, that is off the west coast, an area like that. So the ones that mainly come from areas like Liberia, like that, those are mostly in Georgia area. So that is the difference when you hear people say Gullah and you hear people say Geechee. That's the difference come from there. So most of the ones that come from the area of Sierra Leone off the Gold Coast, you'll hear them say Gullah. So that would be like South Carolina and North Carolina. So down Florida and Georgia, you hear them say Geechee. That's more like Liberia, you know.
Big rice growing Sierra Leone grows a lot of rice.
Yes. So, you know, they got a few areas in South Carolina that have the Carolina gold rice. Every year I try to go and get some rice and thing. And the rice is different. I know a lot of people see the rice on the store shelf. That's not Carolina gold rice. The only way you see, if you see they have Carolina gold rice, that's Carolina gold rice. But the regular rice they got in the store, you know, the water made and all. But they ain't got water made no more. Water made was more like a Carolina gold rice. But some of the other rice that they have in the store now is different. That rice come from China, I think. That rice come from China, that not. So the Carolina gold rice is a little shorter and a little fat. And it's got like a more of a nutty type flavor too. Yes.
You were here when we had the Harriet Tubman sculpture. You saw it, remember?
Yeah, Harriet Tubman, yes. I was following Harriet. When they went and got Harriet Tubman sculpture, where is the sculpture? Statue, where is? So, whenever they went and get Harriet Tubman, And they had her on the trailer, and I was following the trailer. I was going, making different stops with them. And by the time I got here, I was so tired. I said, Lord, have mercy. I don't even know how them people follow Harriet all the time like that walking. I was driving in a car and I was exhausted. And it was hot because it was August the 1st. And it was very hot that day. And I was following Harriet, and I was like, Lord, how much? I said, I just had the third stop, and I am exhausted. And I say, I'm driving in a car, I got air conditioning. So I just really look at Harriet, and I just try to figure out, how did they do it? You know, how did they do it? You know, the thing about the statue, you know, the way how she was dressed, and she was reaching back for a child like that. And I look at her, and I said, man, she got on programs. Y'all know what programs is? See, they know what programs is. Boy, you get you a good pair of programs, you will set. Programs is a shoe. That's a shoe. That's a shoe. You get your program, man, you're good to go. You see, that's a shoe. She had on programs, and I said, well, maybe if she had on programs, she could probably do it, you know, because them been a shoe back in the day, you know. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Could you introduce your assistants, please?
Oh, yeah. This is my baby, yeah? This is my baby, and her name is Amani Maisha. So the thing about, let me tell you something. Her name Amani Maisha. I got twin boys. And my boys, other people name my boys. One of my boys' name is Mondrell Adante. The other one name is Montreal Devante. I had names for my boys, but everybody keeps saying, they get you confused. So I, name them what other people tell me. So when I had my daughter, I said, I can name my daughter myself. So I named her Amani Maisha. So when I went and I look, that's a Swahili name. So when things are in your DNA, it comes out. You see? It was in my DNA. And so that made me realize a lot of times they say, oh boy, them black people, they name their children all these different names. It's in their DNA, you know. I didn't know that was a Swahili name. I said, I name Amani Maisha. So Amani Maisha is woman of faith. That's what it means in Swahili. This is my grandson. This is my oldest twin son. This is my oldest grand. He's named after his dad, Mondrell. But his mom gave his middle name Eden, so his name is Mondrell Eden. I call him Mufasa. So I call him Mufasa. So I got other people I call him Mufasa since he was in the NIC unit. You see? In the NIC unit, he was very, very sick, and he had already been in the NIC unit for about 2 months. And we went there, and I went there that day, and I held him. And I told the nurse, I said, his stomach don't feel right. It was bloated, and he wasn't eating, he wasn't waking up. And they had already given him 2 blood transfusion and things like that. And so he wasn't waking up. And so I was just there talking to him and rubbing on him. And all of a sudden, I just started saying, Mufasa, wake up. Because everybody was calling him. His dad was calling him, his dad was calling him and praying. And then I started saying, Mufasa, come on, Mufasa, get up, wake up, get up, Mufasa. And then he started opening his eyes. And so from that day on, he got Mufasa. You see, that's how you get name Mufasa. And then I didn't realize, I went, look, Mufasa means king. You see? So that's saying, anything in your DNA, I feel like I was chosen. I was chosen for this. I didn't choose this. And then when in the beginning, it was hard. I prayed and I kept saying, I said, God, I asked you for something to do. And you sent me to a plantation. I ain't about a plantation. I was at Hopsewee Plantation down there. I said, you sent me to a plantation. And I said, yeah, that's what you want me to do. I said, if that's what you want me to do, you got to make my way clear. I said, you got to go before me, and you got to prepare things, get everything right. And I realized things that were in me, they start coming out. Like all of the things about the herbs and all those things. And so then I realized it's like, I was being prepared all of my life to tell the story I didn't know. I didn't know that, so, Anyway.
Let's do one more question here.
Yes. Will you sing another song? Oh God, what song I know? I always say that I'm not a singer, you know. I'm not a singer because I remember my cousin. He's an older man. He just passed last year. He was 98, going on 99. And somebody tell me, you ought to go and ask him. This is my cousin. You ought to go and tell him you're going to be on the gospel choir. So I went over there and said, I want to join the gospel choir. And he said, well, if you ain't going to be on every day, you ain't going to come to practice. You don't need to get on. I say, well, I can come. Sometimes we have practice. We go a place all over the place. And we be singing at other places. We need to be there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make all of them. So after he talked like that, I went and joined the choir. So after I started doing this here, when I started doing this here, I said, Lord, you give me songs to sing sometimes. And I said, give me songs to sing. I say, I forget the words sometimes. And so I still would go and try to sing the song. And so now I'm going to try to sing a little piece of song. I start to try to sing a little piece of song. I might not sing but one verse. But it's a song God given me, and I ain't never sing them, I ain't never practice them. Oh, Ezekiel said he saw him in the middle of a wheel. John talked about him in the book of the 7 seas. Some call him the Rose of Sharon, others call him the Prince of Peace. But I call Jesus my rock. I call him Jesus, my rock. Sweet Jesus, my rock. I know he won't deny me. He always walk beside me. I call Jesus my rock. I call him Jesus, my rock. Sweet Jesus, my rock. Oh, I know he won't deny me. Always walk beside me. I call Jesus my rock. His name is Jesus, my rock. Sweet Jesus, oh, I know you walk beside me, always walk beside me. I call Jesus my rock. You see, I see him trying to get in there. I was getting ready to mess up the words, but anyway. You can try to sing a little bit.
Hello. I know I've been quiet back here the whole time. She sung that song, and when you asked about a song, a song actually came to my mind, so I'm gonna sing a piece of this song as well. So this song is a song that, so as you heard, I have 2 other brothers, older brothers, and they are 5 years older than me. So I was always bullied by them as the baby sister. And every time things would go wrong, or if I would get into anything, when I was a kid, I would go to my mom, and she would always sing this song to me. So I'm gonna try to sing a piece of it, of what I remember. There's a God who knows it all. There's a God who knows it all. He ruled this land, all powers in his hands. There's a
of praise.